4 in 10 people believe in ghosts. Over a third of people believe intelligent life exists outside of Earth. 43% of people believe demons exist. There are unexplained phenomena happening daily around the globe, and we are here to talk about it. Your portal into UFOs, paranormal, cryptids, the supernatural, the mysterious, the unknown. I see you. This is Beyond the Radar, and this is your host, Humanoid Tom Conway.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Beyond the Radar, your paranormal news program. Thank you all for tuning in to wherever you're listening from. You can view us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Rumble, and you can listen to us on the Oracle Talk Radio Network app, which connects you to our radio station on iHeartRadio. So we're all over the world 24/7. Unfortunately, you cannot turn us off, so sorry. And for archives of past shows, you can search the Oracle Talk Radio Network on your favorite podcasting platform, Spreaker, Spotify, whichever you use, and become a member on Spreaker or Patreon for unheard of episodes and bonus content. And we have a wonderful, great show for you tonight. Katische Haberfield is a wonderful medium, spiritual guidance, you name it, channeling. She does everything wonderfully. I'm so excited to have her back. She might be new to you, but she's not new to me. You know, we've interviewed or talked previously before in other capacities, and I am just thrilled that she said yes, had the time to talk to all of you, because you're in for a real treat. So a little bit about her. She channels Archangel, Zadkiel, and is a medium, author, poet, and student in understanding of the soul. She's developed the happiest moments of my soul sessions after a discussion with Archangel, or Zadkiel, who instructed her that finding small moments of happiness were imperative for human beings at this time in our development. Which is wonderful and fits totally within the realm that we want to produce here on Beyond the Radar. As much, Katische, as much as we like to spread it around, sometimes in the paranormal we can get too focused on spirits or too focused on UFOs, and we want to spread it around to a little bit of everything. So I'll turn over to you, Katische. Tell me a little bit more about yourself for the audience.
Yeah, sure. So firstly, congratulations. That intro was spectacular. It's very creepy.
Thank you. No one has ever complimented the intro, so you're the first. I will always remember that.
Well, it's interesting because it's exactly. Sometimes our happiest moments are understanding the understandable, and being able to say, yeah, I see that too. Like that creepy dude, I've seen one of them. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, same. And that brings moments of happiness as well. So yeah, what I do is a whole myriad of things. And predominantly I am, as you said, a medium and an author. And I am a past life regression therapist. And I'm also a spirit releasement therapist. And I think the last podcast episode we talked about was a lot more into the spirit releasement world and the things that go bump in the night, that sort of stuff. But so while I do that intensively, I do also work with understanding the wisdom that is in that field, which has taken me quite a while to navigate, because there's a lot of fear about stepping into and being an expert in that area. Do you know what I mean? Because suddenly it's like, your world magnifies on what you focus in. So once you focus in on all the scary things that you've had around you all your lifetime, then suddenly it's magnified, right? You can see it everywhere, and you can get a little bit lost. So the Archangels, who have also always been here with me, said, you know what, it's wonderful that you've dived right in, but your nervous system's a little stressed at the moment. And we think that you might like to just look this way for a little bit, because you'll see how there's an interplay between both. And some of the things that you're afraid of have also brought your soul the greatest moments of its happiness. which will be quite unexpected for you if you're brave enough to challenge your own definition of happiness, from understanding the human's perspective of happiness to understanding your soul's perspective of happiness. I was like, okay, all right. I don't even understand what you're talking about, but yeah, all right, let's go for a ride. Let's check it out. I'm sure you won't take me somewhere that's harder to be than I've already been. So let's go. And so yeah, understanding the soul's perspective on happiness and what the soul would tell us through all of the different other incarnations that we've had on Earth, on other planets, and in other dimensions and frequencies has kind of like been another level of for my brain. But it's been fascinating, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's brought me a lot of joy. And I think what it has done, and the reason why I, come back on Podmatch, because I had a break off Podmatch for quite a while, was because it was something new to talk about, and it was something new to explore. And because the Archangels said there's a lot of stuff happening on Earth at the moment, and humans are grappling with their human existence. And also there's so many humans that are learning about the paranormal, the spiritual, and what exists beyond that. And so we can get trapped in focusing on all the things at once and overload our systems, but also with our social media, we can, spend a lot of time going down rabbit holes, and all we end up seeing is the same of one thing. And we can kind of get into the fear-based narrative of anything without meaning to. We might want to help, but maybe we're not meant to help in that particular thing that we've gone the rabbit hole for a while, because we're here for a different purpose. So yeah, it exploded because I was writing my ghost book, and there were just so many beings that wanted to talk to me that they said, if you don't just shut the door for a bit, you're going to be in trouble, young miss. So I wrote 70,000 words, and they were just like, just stop, because that's channeling 70,000 words of the perspective of ghosts and why they became ghosts, and then their higher self's version. So there's two sides of the story, and they're like, well, okay, your brain will just short circuit, so just have a break and let's do something different. And I was like, okay. So yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting point, because, talking with many different individuals in your field, and it doesn't matter where they're from, age, race, sex, creed, it doesn't matter. A lot of you say the same thing, where you want to help, and sometimes you want to help too much that you're draining your own battery too low. And it's not, it's hard. I hear that it's hard, that it's to focus on yourself, because you want to do the helping, you want to do it, and you need to take that time for yourself, so I'm glad you were able to find that, and get to that point and take that advice, because, it seems to be a common thing in those of your field.
Yeah. And even, when I do my own sessions, so not only I call myself a student of the soul, because not only do I help other people, but I do the work myself. I do my own past life regression sessions. I get a professional to help me. And so recently, for example, and my own sessions are on the current happiest moments of my soul, a season on the podcast. I had a mermaid come in and say, come under the water because your brain is overloading. We need to reduce your brain waves because you've spent 2 hours already in this session channeling all the different avatars and personalities, and you've gone to different dimensions. And if you don't bring your human frequency down, you're going to cause some damage. So, they brought me in with a visualization of going under the ocean to calm my brain down, because, even when I do something that I think is relaxing, it can be more taxing than you think. So, it's a good lesson to say, even when you do think, you still have to monitor your own health and your own mental health, and then your own brain health, because even when we do fun things, you can't, if you're in love with doing marathons, you can't run a marathon every day of your life. Sure, you're going to cause injury. So yeah, it's been quite fascinating in terms of understanding my own physical human suit and how to use it.
Yes, I think it's kind of funny that they were like, "Look, your brain's on fire. We got to get you in water." I think that was great. Let's get into. I wanted to ask you first about archangels, right? Um, do you, do certain people belong, I should say, to certain archangels? Are you, you know what I mean? And you have one that's your archangel, or are they for everybody?
They're for everybody,
Okay.
just as angels are for everybody. And the way it's been explained to me is that, and again, I can only explain it in the way that makes sense to me. So,
Okay.
and I have had other teachers show me ways that have explained things incrementally. So one of the concepts that really gave me comfort recently, especially when I do this work that is so taxing, sometimes I just need need to be hugged, because
Mhm.
I'm a single
Yeah.
mum with 2 teenage boys, and I don't, boys don't like tugging when they're teenagers, but it's stressful on my body, and
Yeah.
so I did say to them once, "Oh, I need somebody to hug me to sleep," and they're like, "Well, you do have a guardian angel for that." I'm like, "What? What? I've
Mm.
been so focused on Archangel Michael." They're like, "Just ask the guardian angel who's with you from birth to wrap their wings around you and send you to sleep." So I asked, and it happened. Great night's
Oh,
sleep. I
wow.
was like, "Okay, I didn't know you could do that." That was really simple. And I'd been reading a lot of works by Lorna Byrne, who is a lady who can physically see the archangels. She can see Archangel Michael through her normal human eyes.
Oh,
She's
wow.
this lady I guess she must be somewhere between 50 and 70, and she lives in Ireland, and she's just been like that since birth. And she sees them differently to me. I see them in my third eye. She sees them in her physical eyes. And so she was the first person that introduced me to the concept of guardian angels. But it wasn't until I was just really exhausted, and I asked some spirit guides, "I need some help tonight." And they said, "Well, your guardian angel's always with you. Why don't you just do that?" So I did. So that's that level of knowledge. But then also
Mhm.
the knowledge that I've gained through this current season is that angels themselves, there are plenty of them, and you can call on them. They're for everyone, and they're for everything. So I'm a woeful cook. I'm horrendous at it, and I get myself like really, really stressed, ridiculously stressed. So, like, let me give you an example. I might buy a nice steak because my boys are growing, they're bulking, and they like to build muscles, and
Yeah,
so
work out. Yeah,
yeah,
teenage boys.
yeah. I'm like, go and buy them a nice steak, and I like burn it to smithereens, or I take it off and it's like just too raw, and they're like, "Oh, mum," and we just laugh. They're like, "Mum and her ridiculous cooking," and I'm like, "Is there somebody that can help me in the spirit world?" They're like, "Yeah, there's an angel for cooking. There's a teacher angel. They're called teacher angels. So there's probably a teacher angel for podcasting and paranormal experiences." They're like, "Just ask your teacher angel for cooking." So now, when I'm feeling a little bit, I'll say, "Teacher angel, can you show me left or right?" Because I use my body as a physical pendulum as well. When my
Mhm.
brain's a little stressed, I'll go left or right. "I need 5 minutes more." And they're like, "Don't ask me like that. Ask me energetically." And I'll be like, "Okay, does the energy of well done," and I conjure
Yeah.
up in my mind what the inside of a steak looks like, energetic equivalent, is that left or right? Because I want it in the middle. So you tell me where the steak is, and I'll move my body to the left or right, because I'm like, as I said, I'm useless at cooking. And when I ask the teacher angel, the steak comes out perfectly. And the kids are like, "Oh, Mum, well done."
Oh,
So I'm like, "All right, cool. We've got
yeah.
a teacher angel." And I've been experimenting with different kinds of angels to say, "All right, is there an angel for this?" So I've been using parking angels for the longest of time ever. That's the easiest one. You ask the parking angel to help you with the car park, but it's a real angel. The archangels, we humans like to put people in categories and layers and pedestals, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And the archangels explained it to me that they are the very first energy that was created by the creator or source or whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
So they are the very first energetic representation. So yes, if you'd like to pretend that makes them very special, and they do also like to believe that it makes them very special, they will say, "Then we are the specialist of special angels." But we are also just the same as you and me, and we can be understood as having personalities if that helps you. So hence we name them and we give them names like Zadkiel and Michael and whatever, and we see them in religious texts. And it does help you people to understand that we do have categories of ways that we can help you, but we also can help you with everything. You just have to be brave enough to understand that you need to find the archangel that resonates with you, and we will tell you exactly what you need to know or experience. And if for some unknown reason we don't want to help you, it's not that we don't want to help you, but maybe there's another energy form that you call an archangel that's more appropriate, then that angel will come in and start working with you. And so hence, you don't have to be somebody special to work with an archangel. You just have to believe that you can and ask to be shown small, simple ways. And I didn't believe it. I had people on my podcast to interview them, to ask them. The first person that I asked was a medium, and she's famous for being on the Channeling Eric channel on YouTube. I don't know if you know that one, but they bring in spirits who've crossed over to find out their stories. And I said to her, I've always wondered if I have, a connection to anybody special. I said I was born on Christmas Eve, so I used to joke that Jesus and I were best friends.
That's a special birthday, though.
Yeah, 9 p.m. on Christmas, 9:05 p.m. on Christmas Eve. And I said, and she just looked at me because she can see them as well. And she just started laughing. She's like, well, maybe there is. And I'm like, yeah, because when I close my eyes, I do see a very specific image of Jesus. And I feel like I know him. And she's like, yeah, we'll go explore that. And so I realized that Jesus has been one of my spirit guides. And I was like, but I'm not even Christian. Why would that be? And then I was also when I went through a divorce, I went through a terrible moment, and I woke up crying, and I was crying for Buddha Shakyamuni. And I was like, I don't know Buddha Shakyamuni. I thought you said I knew Jesus. Now Buddha beats me. And from trusting that I knew them, mostly from different incarnations, but also as spiritual guides, I've then asked other mediums. And so when I was doing my ghost work, the first thing was I didn't believe that I could actually communicate with ghosts. I wasn't trusting. I needed some proof, right? The world tells you need evidential stuff and scientific stuff. Yeah. And so I was like, well, I've been on the radio saying that I crossed over this little boy. I better prove it. And so I hired him at that time, Megan, she's now called Megan Candor, to prove. And she said to me, yeah. And she brought all those so-called ghosts in, and they explained their story, which is what I'm writing in the book. But also she said to me, before we get into that, we have a message from Archangel Michael. And he's like, your purpose is to work with the angels. I was like, okay, all right, fair enough. And then from that time, I've been slowly building my relationship with the archangels, and they find it hilarious because they're like, we've been around you always, forever, in every incarnation, and you know that. But in this time, Katische is a little bit questioning. So we'll do it slowly, and we'll show you in sarcastic ways and humorous ways, and that can challenge your notion of that archangels have to be serious, because we're not serious, and we would never present ourselves as serious to you because you're quite funny, but you're also quite serious. So we want to show you that we can be reflective of your personality, and we want you to explain that archangels will work with you and your personality and your incarnation, and they will come through to you in ways that speak to you, not your best friend, not another expert. They will show you themselves in an energetic representation that matches you. So if you're a meek and mild character, then they will be meek and mild. If you are bold and brave and warrior-like, they will appear as bold and brave and warrior-like. It really is. So they're just trying to break down those barriers that it is, something or someone special with a certificate or an ordination that has to work with the angels and the archangels only. Sorry, long answer. I hope that's...
No, that's a wonderful answer, because, a lot of the stuff that you said there, I can understand, despite me not being, capable of those gifts. It's, if you come across to somebody that they want to work with in a way that's driving them away, what's good is it? You know what I mean? You're not going to get them to buy into what you need them to do. So coming across in a way that is familiar, is comforting to you, and somebody that you want to work with, I guess I would liken it to a coworker. You know, you often tend to navigate to coworkers who are similar to you, because you have to do work together, and you want to work with somebody who, fits the same, profile that you want to have of yourself. When you talk about your experiences with the Archangels and Michael and Zadkiel, how do you channel their guidance, and how does it interact with your work with your clients?
So there's a number of ways. Traditionally, they have come through just personally to me, just to help me in my daily life. And that is a sensation or a feeling that I know that they're around. I've been training myself to learn, like for example, with my vision and knowing, they've basically taught me to divide. If you imagine your eyes are a screen, right? And you divide that screen into 4 quadrants, so they taught me where they sit on the quadrants. So when the Archangels come in, they're in my right-hand top right corner. My soul family and other soul spirit guides are in my left-hand top corner. My bottom left-hand corner is animals and other animal-like beings. And then bottom right-hand quadrant is ghosts and souls that are stuck. And then on top of that, I layer masculine, feminine, but that archangels are neither masculine nor feminine. It's just, however, I see Archangel Michael as a bloke. I actually see him like the character from Singing in the Rain, the old black and white movie. He wears a top hat, tails, and tap shoes.
Yeah, there you go.
Different for everybody. And so they've worked that way. Michael has shown me he's around by protecting me in car accidents. And it's a very strong energetic force that even other people can see, protecting me from dying. And that's how I know that I'm still meant to be here, because I've had since we spoke, I've had 2 near-death accidents where I should have died, and a force pushed the vehicles away from me, so a semi-trailer away from me. I should have gone off the road, and a lady driving beside me sort of looked in after the near accident happened, and she was just like, "Oh my God, did you see that?"
So she saw that force, or she saw that happen.
Yeah, wow. And then I had a bus. The second one was I was driving home from catching up with some girlfriends, and there was nobody on the road other than me. I was in a 3-lane driving area. I was in the middle lane, and a bus came flying down the hill and into the back of my car. I was stopped at a red light, and it could have swerved to right or left, and it didn't. And it hit my car. And so it was a boom, and the bus was full of passengers who all saw that he didn't brake. And I got out of there without anything other than a sore ankle, a lot of shock. And I thought my car was going to be, it was sort of, the bus bore all the brunt of the damage. The bus was crumpled at the front. But I had the knowings after the accident that Michael put himself in between the bus and the car.
Wow. So, yeah, because I would imagine your car would have a lot more damage than a bus full of people. That's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And then the momentum of the hill, too, right? Like you said. So I would assume your car would have been really accordioned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just really pushed together, and it wasn't.
Yeah. And so my car should have also catapulted forward, but it didn't.
That's
it
true.
Stayed in the same spot. And then the crack went up the front of the bus and up the bus window, just, So that's a physical way of believing that I'm here for a reason, that Michael is on my side. The way that I also have been validated is that in past life regression sessions with clients where we've gone to the life between, sorry, I'm not allowed to say that. That's the life between lives is trademarked. Between lives state. when they've spoken to their spirit guides, they have also had Archangel Michael, and Archangel Michael will tell them messages for me, and usually it will be sarcastic or it'll make them laugh. And you're like, when this happens client after client after client, you're like, yeah, you can't replicate that. You're like, I can't brainwash my clients to say, oh, Michael's going to turn up, and by the way, he's going to give me a message. Like, they're in hypnotic state, right? So they're already in another. They're in the spiritual realms. So that was also more signs of how he worked with me. And then now he was like, all right, you're getting a little bit too attached to me, mate. And a few times he's gone, right, we're done for this lifetime. I'm going to go. And I've just like burst into tears, like hysterical, like, no, please don't go. Don't leave me. And he's like, I'm trying to get you to explore other kinds of spirit guides and other energy so that we can do some different work. All right, I'll stay around. But here's Zadkiel, and he's been around all the time as well. But you've been so focused on me, you haven't been focused on him. And now we're going to ask you, we're going to make you do channeling of Zadkiel so you get comfortable to working with someone else. And so that's when I did a season on the podcast where I just literally went, I don't know how to do this. And they said, well, you have had other lifetimes where you've worked with the camera. I'm like, okay. So just turn the camera on Zoom and press record and wait for the feeling of heart expansion. And I had to do a lot of work with the Hathors before I was able to do this. I don't know if you know the Hathors. They
no, I don't. Not familiar.
The Hathors are from the 10th to the 12th dimension. They are the beings that helped the Egyptians. So they're the round moon face cow-like beings. Yeah. So Tom Kenyon is an amazing channeler, and he's a sound healer. And I did I did a lot of his sound healing courses with the Hathors. Yeah. And so the Hathors have taught me to open my heart and understand and connect with a heart-based energy. And so with learning to use the heart energy through the Hathors, basically then they said, right, well, when you're channeling, because I worked so much in the realm of the paranormal and very, very aware of negative entities, negative thought forms, hell beings, you name it. I was like, well, I know how they can mask and present as spiritual beings who they're not. I've had experience with that. I know that. How do I know for sure that it's real? And they showed me, I had questions the same with mediumship, and they said to me, you're like a human water fountain. You cry a lot, and that's one of the ways. But we do understand that that's not good for you when you're trying to channel. So your heart, and you have to wait for the right moment when you can feel like almost a burning sensation in your heart as it opens the energy. And when you've locked into that state, and only then will you then be able to look straight into the camera, and the words that you will speak will be Zadkiel. Oh, and by the way, we're going to make you do it on the podcast, and you're going to put it on YouTube and LinkedIn and everywhere. And I'm like, oh, yeah, just small initiation. No worries, mate.
Yeah.
So that's the ways I work with it.
Yeah. It sounds like this is punishment for not paying attention to me. Speaking of that, that's where I was going to go next. I don't want to say popularity, but Archangel Michael is probably more well known across the world, that name, than Zadkiel. So can you tell us about Zadkiel? What is some information about him or her?
Yeah. So he presents as a he to me.
Okay.
And Zadkiel is the name I have for him. And I know that in other cultures, he does have other names, which don't resonate with me, but Zadkiel it is. And the way that I feel his energy is through the color purple. So when I close my eyes, if I was to close my eyes, I would see purple behind my eyes. And I have also learned through my sessions that it is his energy that works with the violet flame. So he is the energetic counterpart or colleague of the violet flame. he works with and uses the violet flame as a tool, just like Archangel Michael has the blue ray. Archangel Raphael has the green ray. He has the purple ray. And so I see him as color and energy, but I see him as quite similar to Michael, but less of a pin-up poster boy, if you want to put it like that. So like Michael's the Michael's more like, I don't know, good-looking Thor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
one's the Hollister model, and the other one is like, he's all right, but like Sears, like the department store.
Yes, he's got his own special qualities, and he's not so concerned with. He's not concerned with appearance, but I guess because humanity doesn't know him as well, he's still defining the way in which humans wish to distinguish him between Zadkiel and Michael. Do you know what I mean? He's
Do you think he's still finding himself a little bit to this, like a part of his transformation?
Yeah, is understanding, well, how would humans like to get to know me? How would they like to see me? Because they always go for Michael and Raphael, and there's a lot more of us out here than you know. So how would you like to see me? And so Michael and he sort of like banter together to try and teach me what this is, Michael, this is Zadkiel. See, he's a little bit different, but he's the same. He could be direct competition with me. He could be totally different. What do you want him to do? And I guess it's a work in progress is what I would say. I use him if I'm doing like a house clearing, for example. Okay. I just automatically rattle off most of the archangels, and I'm like, whoever you are, I'll list all the names. They come out, or whoever comes out, comes out. I sense your presence. I need your help. Call in the rescue spirits of light, the violet flame. We're going to cleanse this house. We're going to remove all the entities, send them back to the light. Any ghosts, send them to the light. And then let's bring in all of your rays, but in particular the violet flame, to heal and neutralize the energy of this haunted location. Yeah, so, and I mean, he'll bring through... Zadkiel is not afraid to make me reflect on my personal life when I'm channeling. So he whips out the surprises. And I'm like, okay, are we doing that? Are we? Okay, radio. Yeah. So he'll catch me by surprise. I guess it's sort of like a bit of a testing situation, learning to set my own boundaries with the angels. I will and I won't do that. You can and you can't say that. But also I know that he's working in my highest interest, because I still have my own fear that I have to overcome with being a human being, but also having the ability to connect with beings who are not scary for Earth, who are in other locations, and they are sometimes me as an avatar in another location, who have a message for humanity, but I have still got this, most people are afraid of UFOs, or most people are afraid of aliens, and if I say that I have been an alien, will I get locked up by the CIA or something? Do you know what I mean? Will somebody turn me into a science experiment because I said I could channel a being that is blue? Or do you know what I mean? He'll slip in a few things and I'll go, oh, shit, I didn't want anyone to know that. And he's like, well, I'll give you an example. So in one of the episodes we were talking about animals, right? We did a series, Kyle and I, on animals and animal spirit guides. So when he whipped out that I had been somebody important on the Galactic Federation, I was like, that's supposed to be private. I don't know if I'm ready to say that I'm part of the Galactic Federation yet. I'm just Katische, right? Look at me. Do I look like somebody important? No. I'm quite happy with not being somebody important. Yeah. And now you just told them that I'm from the Galactic Federation. And he's like, well, you can choose not to press that as publish, but if you do, and this is the bit that spun my head, he goes, it's a stamp on humanity. I said, what do you mean it's a stamp? He said, it says, I'm here, bugger off. I am protecting the earth, so don't you dare come and try.
Okay.
And I was like, that's a lot to deal with.
Yeah. A sort of protection, right?
Yeah. He said, well, you are somebody who's part of a federation that looks after and protects Earth. So if you admit that, then they see that your essence is here as a human being, but they see that your soul is also still protecting Earth whilst being here. So don't dare invade my planet. Okay. Right.
You know, that's so fascinating that you said that, because recently, right, not too long ago, I had somebody on my show who was talking about we were talking about UFOs, and they were talking about, you know, sort of light alien creatures and then dark alien creatures, and how there's a battle that we don't know anything about because we're still here, you know, as a relatively immature, you know, species, where there are entities out there, I'll call them, that want to do harm to Earth or Earthlings, and then there's light beings that want to protect us, and there's this sort of detente where the light is keeping the dark at bay and say, once you cross this line, we will annihilate you. And I just thought that was almost exactly what, you know, in the same vein of what you were saying, where, you know, with you being a protective force here or being somebody on that federation, it sounded like the whatever governing body that the light said, you don't come into here and we won't, you know, annihilate you. It's so funny because I just had heard that not too long ago.
Yeah. And the thing is that you have to understand that there's two aspects to that, right? So we live in duality, where there's good and bad, right? Where there's evil and non-evil. And why is that? It's because Earth is a location which is designed for soul growth, right? So we come here specifically to get another badge, is the only way that I put it, on our soul growth. On your dashboard. Yep. And so there are beings from everywhere who wish to have the experience that we have been gifted to be a human being. There's a very, very, very long queue. And there are there are beings that exist in the states of non-duality where there's no such thing as violence and good versus evil. You know, it's a totally different experience. And there are beings who live on other planets that are also in the duality framework. So if you're a being on a planet that is existing also in duality, where there's good versus evil, and that you've mined your own planet for all the resources, and you're like, well, I want to conquer. And look, there's Earth, and they know all about conquering. Look at all the wars they're having. Maybe I can conquer them. Let me go. Like, I've used my planet. I didn't care about it or whatever's happened. And they don't have the higher perspective of non-duality because they're still learning. And so they think, I'll come over and take over. Excuse me. And then the beings that are protecting Earth, because it's a very special ground of soul growth, are like, get in line, dude. Don't come and crash in here and do a duality, non-duality experience, because we've got people already here doing wars. So get in line. If you want to be a warring person, get in line and incarnate as a human being, and you can play out your little things if that's what you so desire. But you don't just come over and take over the planet. That's not, Earth is very, very protected at all levels, everywhere. That's why we have humans who have been just about everything here right now in their roles to teach spirituality, to teach about the paranormal, to do whatever they need to do, because they all stamp their mark on Earth. And that's the really interesting thing about the happiest moments of my soul sessions is when I went to do my own. I was like, okay, what are we going to see? You know, I didn't know what my own definition of happiness was. And the first thing I see is myself as like an astronaut being on the edge of a ship, which I described as a helicopter. And all I can see is myself in a rubber suit, my knees are hanging out over the edge of the ship, and I'm getting ready to go into the planet, not this planet, into a planet. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then I'm on the planet, and I have a robot dog. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I've been watching too much Jetsons when I was a kid or something.
Maybe.
And then I'm like, okay, what are we doing? And the me of that lifetime has a task-based incarnation. So you and I have an experience-based incarnation. We're experiencing emotions as being human beings. We can also be a slight idiot like me and have a task and experience incarnation where you do both. But out there in other locations, they generally do their either task or their experience. And so this dude that is like the astronaut being, he's a task, and he has a clipboard, and he's got a set of things to do. And so the ship is come onto this planet, and what the me of that time is investigating is I've got a message which says there are beings still on this planet, and this planet is currently being evacuated because the planet is about to self-implode. This planet's experiment is finished, and we are moving all the sentience off this planet. So everything, including the beautiful being that's inside the planet, needs to leave. All animals, all humanoids, everything. But I've got this being who looks exactly like an astronaut, but if you took the insides out of the suit, there's nothing in there. It's just sentience, right? So they don't have bones and blood like us. This being is I call a sentient robot, for want of a better word. And he has a set of instructions. And when I arrive, he's there holding a baby. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're supposed to be, your ship left. There's not supposed to be any humanoids on this planet. Why are you here, and why are you holding a baby? And he's like, well, this being here just gave birth. And this is a planet without free will. So why did she give birth as we were evacuating? And why am I holding a baby? It doesn't work with my instructions. And so it turns out that she hadn't cleared her karma from another planet. And her dying wish was to have a baby. And in their planet, they don't give birth like we give birth here. They order a baby and it comes. And so her dying wish, because she hadn't cleared her human karma, was to have a baby. So she was delivered a baby and she died. And so the robot man, sentient being, is holding a baby, and he's like, but it doesn't meet my instructions. And I'm like, okay, come with me, bring the baby, because my instructions are I've got to make sure all the sentience is off this planet. And what that relates to happiness is that here I rescue ghosts. You know, that's been the main thing that I've done for the last 5 years is this obsession with ghosts. And it shows me that the reason I have this obsession is because there is a task-based version of me that goes from planet to planet looking for souls and anomalies to find stuck souls. And I work with teams to make sure that if a planet is going to self-destruct, there is no sentience left on that planet. So what has that got to do with Earth and protection? Part of the message was to show me that it makes me satisfied and happy to go through processes. Part of it was to say nobody gets left behind. And I've even said in my own regression sessions, nobody gets left behind. They were my exact words. And what I've realized is that if people are worried about Earth blowing up or being taken over by aliens, the point is that, well, A, we're already here, and B, there's task force to protect it, Earth, from these that are also in the duality, non-duality, conflicting experiments. And C, there are teams of people working to make sure that nobody gets stuck, and that every single person, even if they are a ghost, will eventually, when Earth decides Earth is finished as its purpose, there will be nobody left behind. And so I was like, even now my brain kind of goes, that's a lot to take in, but how fascinating, how interesting, and how weird that provides me with happiness. But it kind of also checks the box of how weird Katische is. I like strange things, and you can see why, because my soul likes strange things which aren't strange to my soul. They're perfectly normal.
Yeah, it's perfectly normal to you, and that might be a part of, easing, I guess, the general public into what these things are. And that's something, and my follow-up question to you is, you are experience-based here and task-based. How would somebody know if they also should be doing tasks?
It's a good question. And I think that is a discussion you have to have with your spirit guides. And it comes out in sessions, but also it comes out in your compulsions and your desires, right? So maybe, Tom, you do have a task-based thing as well, because you have this desire to create this big explanation in the form of a show, right? And if I said to you, you can't do it tomorrow, like I said, I'm going to lock you up in jail and you can't ever do it again, would you experience negative emotions?
Oh, well, yeah, I wouldn't want to be there.
Yeah, but about not being, if I said to you, you had to make cups of tea for old ladies for the rest of your life, you could get some happiness and learn to do that. And if I said, you know what I mean, but is there a big part of you that would be conflicted and say, but I'm not supposed to be doing that. I have this compulsion, this desire that it drives me that I have to do this, and it's inexplicable to somebody else.
That's true. That would happen, because through this journey, through not just the radio station, not just Beyond the Radar, Chasing Prophecy, or Labeled Paranormal, or started UFOs Over PA, a meetup group, just meetup, where people can talk about that. Through all of it, I have met, and it's been easy to meet, wonderful people from all over the planet, not just Pennsylvania or Philadelphia, not just Pennsylvania, not just the United States, multiple countries, multiple time zones all over the world. But even then, and I'll be very honest with you, and this is the level of the work that, you have reached that I haven't done, is I still would be like, oh, I think I'd be all right with ignoring the facts. You know what I mean? So that's something that, you're right. And for me, it kind of has to be served up on a silver platter for me to notice it. You know what I mean? Because that instant reaction would be, I can be okay. Because you're right. Yeah. Let's use your example, making cups of tea for old ladies. I would just be happy helping somebody else.
Yeah.
But would it be the same type of happiness as talking to individuals with, I don't care if I have one listener, I have somebody listening to what we have to say. You know what I mean? So, it's not about the numbers. It's not about how many people you reach. It's about this connection of consciousness that you and I are exchanging. And every week, sometimes I don't have a guest every week, but when I have a guest, that happens for 1 hour a week that we can get out and talk about stuff that, if we did go out there, maybe people would look funny at us talking about all of this kind of stuff, because, as well, and this is something I know too, as well as I know, them out there aren't ready to hear it yet. They're not ready. They're not ready. Are they getting better? Yes, I do believe, it's growing. I do believe it's growing, and I do believe the consciousness and the vibration is being turned up a little bit, but it's not a light switch. It's a dimmer. So it's going ever so slowly. I would want to be of service to angels, archangels, to the greater good, to the creator, or whatever definition. Use your definition out there, America, not mine. Whatever it is, I would want to be of service. Because if what I have learned is, we are so, let's use a movie for an example. We want to know the ending so bad that we're ignoring the first hour and a half of it. Yeah. So that's what we are doing. We have to learn and experience things. And I've talked to many, many people that have brought up the idea that, I'm afraid to say it, but they're like, there's not a lot of judgment. This is for you to experience. This is for you to grow. This is for you to get better on the other side. Retribution is a human-made thing. It's that sort of stuff. And so, I choose to believe that and get every kind of experience out there while growing myself in a way that's positive, or how I view as positive. So that's my little diatribe on that.
Yeah, no, I agree completely.
Oh, wonderful. That's I'm glad you agreed with that, because there's something inherently in all of us that makes us ask questions at a certain age. Everybody, and you could turn it off, and many millions do. That's not real. I don't want to talk about it. It's bogus. It's this. It's that's the other thing. You have some people who will listen. You have some people who fully believe. You know what I mean? And talking and interacting with each other, which we are supposed to be. Take the spirituality out of it. As the human being, we need that connection. We need connections. We need to be in groups. We need to talk to one another. We need to work together. We need to do all of these kind of things, because not one person has the answer to everything. So when you have that stuff, doing what we're doing now, and just reaching out and being of service to other people wherever you are, that's something that I'm hoping to lead on, to leave. You know what I mean? As an imprint, that way. So
yeah,
go ahead.
I think it also helps to realize too that time is a construct that's also fascinating to souls, because it's a part of the makeup of Earth, right? We can't ignore the scientific fundamentals of Earth. But to them, they don't have time. So it's kind of also fun for them to incarnate here in different time zones, in different time periods, and know that they might choose to have 45 different experiences on Earth, but they're all happening exactly at one time for them. And so in each of those 45 incarnations, just making it up, it's a random number, they would have various stages of awareness because they think it's fun. So there might be 11 Toms over the history of Earth who are all sitting on the fence covering their eyes. But there may be one or two versions of Toms either side that are also adventurous, or maybe you're a flat earther in one lifetime because it's fun.
Hey.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like, because they see it as fun. Oh, let's see if I go back and let me try and do this time. I wonder what that would be like. And like, we as humans are going, oh God, why don't they understand? And it's because there's a different version of them who does understand, but this version wanted to interact with you, and that's why you've come across them. And you might spark something that helps them in their little journey, or you might irritate the heck out of them. But there's other versions of you as well that are completely oblivious. So
probably the latter.
Yeah, like, it's they try to explain it as that's how we try to teach judgment, because you're judging yourself. Yeah. And I guess if people get really obsessed about what do they call it? Ascension, and the different levels of ascension, or which high flying disc is my thought on today. The thing is that you exist in every version already. You are the biggest Luddite on Earth, and you are the most enlightened being on Earth, just in your human brain at different times. So if that's possible, then it's also possible for others. So to speak to what you're saying, so therefore we have to meet people at the stage they're at. And that's very hard as a human being, because we're kind of like, why don't they understand? Or why can't I get through? Or why does nobody understand me? And I only had my own breakdown in my own family the other day where I had a tantrum, and I don't have tantrums very often anymore. And I'm like, I'm sick of being the weirdo.
and you touched on something there that reminded me of saying that I heard years ago is, when you don't like someone else, you don't like yourself in them. You know what I mean? What you don't like about them is about yourself, not so much that person. And using that awareness, when I came across times that happened, man, and I found that so true. Like, wow, it's not that I don't like this person. I don't like how they acted, but that's because I would be the same way. I would act that way. I would be this kind of person. It's just a fascinating thought to have. And I guess a follow up to that is, you know, wouldn't it be great to jump into those other times that are, you know, around those other realities? Because why are we stuck to one? Why am I in this one? Why is my consciousness only in this one? Why can't I feel or switch? You know, and I guess maybe if I'm trying to answer my own question is, I'm in this one because this is what I need to work on. Whatever happened in my life, whatever things you're going through, you're supposed to be. You know, I guess that's, you know, the answer. Is that right, or is it something else?
No, that is the answer. And because it's also very confusing and difficult to be able to tap into other incarnations. So generally speaking, in the work that I do in like my past life regressions therapy sessions, people tap into those other lifetimes because of trauma that needs to be healed. They need to help themselves, basically. They need to help the other them in these other lifetimes heal these wounds, these regrets, these griefs. And so if you know of yourself in multiple incarnations, which I do, I've done at least 25, 30 past life regressions. I know a lot about myself, and it can interfere with who I am, because I'm like, you get a little bit obsessed with who you were once you find out, and you go down rabbit holes of learning, and you're like, so how am I different and how am I the same? And it can cloud who you are now, because you're like, yeah, all right. I mean, my favorite experiment, and it's not an experiment, is to see, you know, how being in the present I am about who Katische is I go into a bookshop, right? And, you know, I have a reading list a few billion lives long of what I want to read, and I have it on Goodreads, but I never check it. I just go into a bookstore and say what appeals to me. And every single time I might have the intention of going in to read a book on a particular topic or find something, and I'll put my hand on the first random shelf and I'll pull out a book and I'll be like, oh, for God's sake. And it'll be like a book that's written about a past incarnation.
Wow. Okay.
Or something to do with somebody I knew in a past incarnation or a time period. And I'm like, I'll open it up and I'm like, am I supposed to buy this? No. Put it back on the shelf. Katische, you came here to find something for Katische. That is just showing you the magnetic attraction you still have with those lifetimes. And don't forget to be Katische. And also, you know, the other thing is that if and when you do discover a lot of lifetimes, it's for a reason. And what you need to do is to, if you've cleared the trauma or the sadness or whatever it is, you need to invoke the wisdom, right? And I mean, I've only just been learning how to do this week, but it's like you invite them into the room. Okay, so you say, I'm feeling really impatient about learning something about this particular time that I existed, or I'm feeling really impatient and I think it's got to do with a limitation or a block that I'm feeling in this life, but it's really urgent and I can't do anything about it and I've tried everything. Well, then you invite the wisdom of all those personalities who have experienced the thing that you're experiencing or the opposite of that in another lifetime. And they showed it to me as imagine the energy of impatience is like a rat running in a wheel, right? And then now see, forget the rats there, just turn it into flames, right? So the flames represent time. So put time into the wheel, let it run its race. Invite all the ambassadors to come into the room. The ambassadors are your other avatars. And like I've taken it literally, but that's me. So I have roses. Okay. And put on some sweet smelling roses and some wood to calm down the room. So aromatherapy, wooden cedar or frankincense or some oak, whatever you like. Okay. And then visualize asking your ambassadors to sit down. tell them that you're going to make them a cup of tea. And they will say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm too busy for that. And you'll say, no, it's my honor and privilege. Please stay, have a cup of tea. And then you visualize making the tea, putting out your best china and your silver tray, and you serve tea with them. And then you go into a deep meditation and you say, I know you all have a lot to say to me, and there's some wisdom that needs to come through. It's too much for my humanness. So here's a beautiful Ming vase. I want you to be like Dumbledore and take the pensive of thought out of your brain into the Ming vase, and we'll let the energy swirl. And when that energy swirls and you're still in that meditative state, you can thank them for their time, and you can just let that energy sit. And what it does is it rests the soul and calms down all the other incarnations, so that they don't feel so urgent about healing this block or doing that thing or whatever, because they're trying to get into you. They're trying to knock on the door, and you're like, I'm only human, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we just let time do its thing, and then you finish the ceremony and off they go. And then everybody feels calmer. You feel less impatient about achieving your breakthrough, and your soul receives the growth that it needs without this urgency of this thing that we have on earth called time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're ready, you will be able to naturally have an aha moment or a breakthrough that will tell you the next step to do. Not the whole process. It will tell you what you needed to learn from all those people in that moment. You can extract what's relevant for you. They feel calmer. They can deal with it. And you can go, right, where's my list of things to do? Oh, this actual one here looks like the thing that relates to that piece of wisdom, and I'll do that, and that will make me feel calmer. That will make me feel joyful. That will make me peaceful, and I'll get a bit of weird happiness out of it.
Wow. It's a fun exercise to do. I'm gonna try that. That sounds wonderful.
And I'm a very impatient person, so that's why I think they helped me with that.
Yeah, me too. I feel like if I'm not moving, I'm not doing anything. So, I definitely understand that portion of it. But Katische, we've reached that time. Thank you again. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us. Let everybody know where they can find you, your books, all of that stuff. Just go
to my website, katische.com, and whatever you need will be there.
Okay, perfect. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes when this comes out, when the podcast comes out. So everybody listening, tune into the podcast, and you'll be able to find a link for Katische and all of her wonderful help. And everything that we've gotten over the last hour, I take everything to heart. So thank you so much for your time and everything that, but that's it for us. Thank you for listening. Please, everyone, like, subscribe, leave a nice comment. And thank you so much. And for Beyond the Radar on the Oracle Talk Radio Network, I thank you, and we will talk to you next time. Goodbye, everyone.